Hey there. So, I wanted to ponder on and discuss the elements of a healthy conversation. And the reason that I was brought to this thought was because in my last video I said I invited people to give me their thoughts on what I was sharing and even to challenge me. And so I had this thought like, oh, you know, if I invite someone to challenge me, I'm not afraid of having a discussion that's, critical and um, fruitful and respectful and all of that. I'm not worried about being wrong. But then I thought, well, it also opens the door to someone who doesn't really have the ability to converse in a manner that is fair, that isn't a debate or, you know, a, something that I don't find useful. And I thought to myself, well, what are the things that I would respond to and what are the things that I wouldn't respond to? And then like that thought process brought me to this realization about how a healthy conversation looks. And so I think one thing that's important for two people who are conversing about a topic is that they are doing so with the desire to understand each other. Because understanding is compassion, is love. And we want to add love into whatever conversation we have. And it doesn't mean we have to agree. To put love into a conversation means that it's going to be based on the win-win-win. And everything that we base on the win-win-win is fruitful and worthwhile to me. So those are the things that I want to invest in, focus on, proceed with, participate in. So a conversation to me has to involve two people who want to understand each other. So if someone were to like pose a challenge to my view in the form of coming at me with all the reasons that I'm wrong, my first want would be to know if they understand what I was saying. Now, if they're just telling me all the reasons I'm wrong, probably chances are I'm going to see that whether they understood what I said or not, right? Because based on their perspective. But wouldn't it be nice if when we have a conversation that aims to be fruitful and wise, that we start with a recap of what the other person said to demonstrate our level of understanding of it. So paraphrasing or rewording into our own understanding of what they said. So I say this, and you say what your understanding of that is, and then you say what your point of view is on the same topic. And then I take in your point of view. Now I know if you've understood my point of view or not, so I have to start there, right? Like, do I need to clarify my point of view, or have I felt like you do understand my point of view and now I want to respond to your point of view with my reiteration of my understanding of your point of view, and then my added points to that, right? So each step of the conversation is very respectful and it's measured. So we're not getting our egos tangled up into a knot. We're not pitting our egos against each other. We're not taking each other's point of view personally as an insult to us. We're not getting offended that we could be wrong or that there's more to learn or that we don't know everything, these things that the ego can kind of pretend are truths for us and puff us up and make impossible for a fair, loving conversation to happen between two people who both have valid perspectives, even if they are not in agreement or from the same angle at all. In fact, I would think that conversing with someone who has a different view than me on the same topic can only expand my awareness, which I like. I welcome. I want to know. Excuse me. I want to know so that I can speak intelligently about the topic, that I can be more understood by whomever I'm conversing with the understanding that they too might have a different view on that topic. So, yeah, I feel like any challenges that come my way, I've been operating this way anyway for a while, is that any challenges have to come in the flavor of I want to understand you. So if you want to understand me and you don't, then that would not be a challenge, that would be a question. Right? And so, and the question would have to be in the flavor of I want to understand you, and not I think you're wrong. What about this? As the flavor of the question, you know what I mean? Like the question itself, I don't think serves well as a challenge on its own. Not that it couldn't be effective and that we couldn't proceed from there, but I think that the moment we do that, we're now looking at something that looks more like a war and less like a mutual desire to understand each other, which is actually the kind of conversations I want to have. What do you think? Oh, I want to ask the bucket what they think. They. Let's see what the Oracle bucket thinks. All right. Here's the bucket. Oopsie. I had this platform all ready to be used, and then I forgot that I was going to do it. Okay. All right, Oracle. I'm asking, what are the elements, healthy elements of a conversation? Healthy elements of a conversation. This is very general. There's a lot of energy in this bucket now. I added over 200 feelings and other things to the bucket. Rainbow refers to the Rainbow Bridge, and the Rainbow Bridge is what excuse me, I use to refer to coming from one way of seeing something to a higher way of seeing it. So anytime we're expanding our awareness, it is a higher view. And so this is agreeing excuse me, with my desire for that expanded awareness as a ingredient to a healthy conversation. Specialness. This is interesting. So I think this is the recognition that, you know, humans do have this want to be special. We each want to be special, right? And we each are special. So doesn't that mean no one's really special? But we could use it in the way that, like, we're special, we're each special in our own way. And so that way is actually our point of view. You know, without fail, we each have a unique point of view. And I know this by looking at astrology, since no two beings on Earth share the same exact energy imprint. I know that every view is unique. So that means every view is special. And so I think this is calling us to honor that. There isn't a battle of wrong or right. There isn't a battle of I win, you lose. It's I have a special view to offer, and you have a special view to offer. Let's look at both so we can expand our awareness. The rainbow doesn't have just one color. It has a lot of colors, right? And they all work together to make the beautiful picture that it is. Or frequency that it is. Odin just like stands in his power, right? So it's like, I feel like this is, have a conversation that matters to you, that is your specialty, that's something you're invested in, mastering, learning about, invested in, like, it's your thing, you know? It's like, we don't want to waste people's time with a conversation that we're really not even invested in, that we're just like, whatever about this. Like, that really is a waste of time, and time is the commodity here in the 3D. So really have the conversations that are yours to have. Learn from consequences. I think this is like, allow that you might not get it right, that you might have to backtrack, like when you forget to validate the other person's point of view, or when you accidentally take something personal when it's not, you know, like, allow ourselves to adapt through the process of learning to have the conversations we want to have. Also have standards, right? So if somebody comes at me with a challenge that I can tell is based in their wanting to elicit some sort of reaction in me, I can feel that in the energy. I'm not biting. I demand that there's a higher standard in the conversations I indulge in. And I'm going to hold myself to that standard. I can't make you do anything, so all that means is like, I'm not having this conversation with you. That's my right. Because I demand a higher standard. And I demand that my point of view, my specialness be honored as well as yours. Playful. Let there be some fun. It doesn't have to be so structured, even though we are having a high standard. High standard doesn't mean, oh, follow these steps. We know the rules, so let's like do this step by step. Maybe there's going to be a joke thrown in there. Maybe there's a lighthearted perspective that's being shared, and it's meant to be enjoyed in the moment instead of jumping to your reiteration of understanding. Actually laugh at the humor in what was presented and shared, if there is some, you know? Like, let it be a natural thing. And the other thing about being playful is playfulness is fueled by curiosity. So there's a part in your brain that might be curious about something based on what was shared and what was being discussed, and so allow that to come out. Allow that curiosity to spur you in the direction that it wishes. Practice. Like, this is an upgrade to our generally known way of communicating and having conversations. So it's going to take some practice. Get two more. Think of it as an adventure. You're being brought into new territory. If your awareness is expanding, that means you haven't looked through this lens before. Things are going to look different. Your expanded awareness, even from your own view, is going to look different after a conversation that is really healthy and fruitful and worthwhile. So look at it as you would an adventure, meaning you don't know the outcome. There are limitless possibilities. It is going to be fun, and you're not trying to give it so much structure that you already know what's going to happen. Oh, I like this because this is like nourishment. It's like, let the conversations be about things that are nourishing to you and the other. And you don't have control over what nourishment is needed by the other necessarily. but you do for yourself. So you have to discern for yourself, is this nourishing conversation for me? The other person has to discern that for themselves. But also, we don't want to feed somebody something in a conversation that we know is not nourishing for anybody. So these are the conversations that aren't like talking about what we don't want necessarily, right? It's like, well, I don't like this and I don't like that. And a lot of complaining and gossiping is based on things that we don't like. And nourishment, if you think about it, is the ingredients that go into something so that it can grow. And we are looking to grow through this conversation, which is healthy, right? And so we want to feed it with the stuff that fuels the growth. And what fuels the growth is stuff that's going to be more in the direction of things that are healthy in the first place. So even if we're discussing something like, oh, that is unhealthy, there's a nourishing way to discuss it. And that is a lot to do with your intention. What is your intention to discuss it? If your intention is to disparage somebody's reputation, there's no nourishment in that. You're not adding any good stuff to humanity, to the overall, to the other person. It's kind of like a poison, right? So it's kind of like clean up your side of the street, and come to the conversation with a willingness for these good things that we want to add to the recipe. Oh, I like that very much. All right, now what do you think?